This is already my attitude now. I refuse to go out and say, I absolutely guarantee for the next 600 years, this painting will be as is. I said, mount them. He said, are you crazy? He said, no, you're making a mistake, mount them. I thought about it.
This is how they done it.
This is what came out. I again very carefully started gathering objects to put into this blanket. For example, these are stones from my yard. They've been there for the last 20 years, as of the garden. This is a sliver of a Nautilus shell, which I got from Cebu. Of course, shells I've had for years and years and years, because I used to be an old shell collector. So I've got boxes and boxes full of shells from many, many parts of the world, still in my garage. But my favorites, frankly, are the simplest, cheapest shells you can imagine. And in fact, some of them are eroded shells from the beach because they're worn, they are cold. That was the raw material for this. And I did a whole series of about at least 40 of these, and put up a show, and I'll tell you the net result of that. As far as I could tell, no one looked at it, no one liked it, except maybe 2 or 3 people. One of them was Patrick. He was absolutely crazy about that show, and I was convinced that it was very interesting and very nice. I was convinced it was one of the best things I had ever done. One critic dumped it and said it was nonsense, it was trash, and really, like student work and so on. So I had very mixed reactions from a very small number of people, but I was delighted by this. Really one of the nicest things I've done in terms of the pieces and in terms of the way I put it up as a show. Absolutely beautiful to me. To me, no one agreed, sorry. Let me tell you my attitude about this idea now. When I did this thing, a few of the people, I think during the opening, kept coming to me saying, but won't this come off? And I told them, John, it come off. Will it crumble? Absolutely. I said, and not a very long time. And then these things have strings. They said, won't this come off? I guarantee that most of the strings will fall off. Many people didn't know how to take this. I was dead serious. What I was telling them is this, listen, I show and sell these things with no guarantees. You don't see me giving you written guarantee saying, I, Arturo Luz, certify and guarantee that none of the objects here will ever come off. Do you see me issuing certificates? No, there's no guarantee. You get what you're looking at, and you know that in time this may come off. This has become my attitude about art. And sometimes people, even when they look at my acrylic painting, they say, won't this fade or won't the canvas come off? I reassure them as much as I can, but all else failing, I tell them, there's absolutely no guarantee with this painting. What you're looking at is what you get. What happens is not my obligation. I am not concerned about what happens to it. And then I add my standard joke. If it gets destroyed, throw it away and buy another one.
Well, fortunately, your works, the enamel works, have lasted for 40 years.
60.
And looks like...
Not one destroyed except 2 that were carelessly put into a completely wet. And so all kinds of things happened to it. With the exception of that, I can honestly tell you that no painting of mine in those 50 years have been destroyed or have faded beyond a reasonable degree. Never.
Fantastic.
And in fact, my paintings you can scratch to this day. And many of them, I can tell you, whether you believe me or not, they look like the moment they were painted.
Yes.
And I think that's because of the way I apply my paint. So many people were coming to me saying, my God, won't this shell come off? I said, of course it will.
How many of these did you do?
About 40.
40. May I ask how many have been sold?
As far as I know, none.
Oh,
none.
my goodness.
None. Excuse me, what?
You are much too ahead of your time, or our audience is much too backward.
No, they don't appreciate this kind of thing. Yeah? I love it. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I loved it. I put on a show. There was almost no reaction except 1 or 2 very negative things, 1 or 2 complimentary comments and so on. So what do? I wrap this up and put it in my garage. Sometimes I get impatient because people seem so demanding about things. Will this red be 100% of this intensity by the time it goes to my grandchildren? This kind of thing, I get very mad, yeah.
I guess you
I get very mad.
Yeah.
The other thing that gets me is they look at a thing like this, which is supposed to be rather rough and informal, and they say, what is this tiny little smuts or dot? That really makes me very happy. Having done this, then it suddenly occurred to me, if I'm doing fragments, why can't I do other things? So I continued the series and I said, okay, I will continue the assemblage, but this time, since I have all kinds of odds and ends, I will begin to use objects that I'm familiar with, Asian antiquities.
Uh-huh. But are they originally fragments?
Yes, they are. Or some I have cut them up. But mostly there are things that are around me that are part of my shopping expeditions, my odds and ends in the house. And some of them are even part of the prototypes I was using for jewelry and so on. It's a combination of all kinds of things. This is a fragment of something from Thailand. Thailand, as you know, is full of this kind of work. This is very typical Thailand. This is a glass mosaic. It used to be part of a large ceremonial bowl. This is part of a 19th century wood carving from India. These are all the beams from Rajasthan, India. This is painted ochre. This is old Indian silver. This is part of the decor that the Balinese dancers use for their classical dance. These are the accoutrements of the Balinese dancers.
Yes.
So that's Balinese. They are made up of all kinds of things. This is an old thing again from Bali.
Philippine? Asian?
No, all of there's nothing Philippine here. This is part of an Indian beam. I call this artifacts. The artifacts series of assemblage, I did about 30 or 40 of these. Remember, every time I need to show in my gallery, depending on what they are, I am only talking anywhere from 11 paintings to about 25 objects or photographs and so on. Sometimes double what I need. If I need 15 paintings for a show, I will always do 30. This is my nature, yeah?
Yeah,
Because so that I will have a choice when I'm putting up the show of what goes well together, what shapes, vertical, horizontal, small, large. So I have a whole set to choose from to find the perfect combination. My formula is simple, double what I need.
so we had the fragments, the artifacts.
And that is the end of 1998. Now we get to 1999.
Okay.
Last December, I was in Hanoi, Vietnam, to judge
Philip Morris.
At that time, as usual, every free moment I had, I was going around with my camera, taking photographs.
In Hanoi.
In Hanoi. And in the process, I began to be aware of so many stalls, like sari-sari stores, selling nothing but temple offerings. What are temple offerings? They consist mostly of paper. They are printed red, gold, combinations of that, wood black type images, sometimes of horses, of gods, and so on. Writings, intonations, prayers, admonitions for temples. And people buy this like we buy candles and ex-votos from Quiapo to bring into the church. And these people keep buying these things to make their little offerings in their Buddhist temples. Except that in relation to me, I find these papers very, very attractive because I've been doing so much collage in my life. I started to be very aware of this. To make a long story short, I bought a whole bag full of this, took it home, December. As soon as I got home, in fact, I started already, I think even December. And
December
certainly-
98.
98. And certainly into January, and maybe even into February, I started doing my first collages with this. As soon as I get turned on, I cannot stop. So I just went on and on and on, and before I knew it, I had enough of these collages for maybe not one,
this is like
maybe two shows. Here's the Hanoi series. It was the almost acid quality of the colors that they printed onto the paper. And also there are many pages that are printed with horses and figures and so on.
This is the actual paper?
Yes. It's a collage, mounted flat on.
Now this just canvas.
This is canvas
Or wood.
painted white. It's plywood.
Yeah.
Again, always wrapped with canvas and then painted 3 coats of white. It's my background. I hate mats. I hate the idea of a cut mat and you see the edge and then and put on top. I prefer that the thing be pure. This is part of that thing about purity and directness of material.
But you can work with color.
Of course I can. Because in this case, I have no choice.
Yes.
I am using
Paper.
color as is. It exists in front of me. I cannot change it.
Right.
So I must use it the best way I can.
But what is the working process with Thin Enough?
I have him already pre-prepared this. I give him the size, so he knows what size I will need. I will then do my collage very, very carefully. As I put on pieces of paper, when I like the arrangement, I just lift a few corners and with office paste, I paste it on. Only 2. He will Elmer glue the pieces together until it's one whole piece. Then he might probably trim it square, but that's already one piece. And that is the time he will mount it onto this board. We don't do it piece by piece on this board. That doesn't work.
Okay.
It must be whole, and then he will put it on. That's his function.
Okay.
Now, everything I show you, Sid, you are looking at the tip.
Okay,
There's
I
a
see.
lot hidden away, okay? I'm showing examples, yeah? This is good for 2 shows, maybe 3. Then I get to the more subtle colors of those papers, and those are this. These are all the same temple papers, yeah? Then it goes into this color range, yeah?
And did you cut this in?
Hand, with my scissor, with my blade, whatever. But these are done rather quickly. There's a simple reason for this. Sid. I've been doing this all my life. I have developed an inner instinct for this type of thing, yeah?
You say that this painting is done.
Yeah,
Is it possible for you to add another element to it
possibly.
that can still make it work?
Yes, but I feel that I've got enough. Why should I add to it? It's enough. I reach a point in doing something like this, lalo niya mga to simple. My instincts are very, very strong, and it tells me, you have enough, stop. I can add to this, I can elaborate. But the moment I catch myself going beyond what I think is sufficient, I stop myself. I'm getting excessive. I'm getting too much into it. I stop.
Something that tells you?
A very
Yeah.
deep-rooted sense, intuition, and training that tells me enough.
I'm pursuing it because I study in the process of design. If you did not have this element, will the design collapse?
No, probably not. But it seems to have improved with it. Everything is a choice. Do you want it to be a little more strong? Do you want it to be a little more active? Sometimes I get active. Look.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes I get very minimal. It's a sense that tells you, enough, stop. Or it tells you, it doesn't quite do anything. You need something. That happens more often. And you're looking at the thing and you can't figure out, why isn't this thing gelling? Why doesn't it work? Why doesn't it excite me? And suddenly, yung pala, kailangan mo lang isang pitik, little dab or a piece of gold or something. Your instinct also tells you that. Parang kulang, yeah?
Okay.
But with me, it's second nature already, no? So this is the Hanoi series. And here, the intention is really limited. 2 colors only. Green and that red purple. So it doesn't get boring. What do? I reverse the 2 pieces of paper.
Yes.
I use the back.
Uh-huh.
Because it's slightly mottled. There you are. I'm completely satisfied.
This will look great also as a huge canvas.
Yes, it would. Oh, marami pa ito hindi nakamount. And then, this is where it started. I started first the small one, just getting the feel of the color. These are extremely simple. I just wanted to see the reaction of the colors.
Oh yeah, they remind me of the burlap.
Oh, yes, very much so. This was the initial set that I used just to test the colors. Yeah? And then when I got a sense of what they were doing, then I moved on.
Have these things been exhibited?
Never.
The Hanoi.
No, never.
Well, we shall soon see some of them.
I was very, very fortunate. In January, a niece of mine who lives in Palo Alto, California, got herself into the business of scouring the whole of India to find the most beautiful handmade papers, either as paper or as converted papers into notebooks, memo pads, and so you name it, every conceivable use of paper, but essentially all handmade paper. All the printing on her items are hand printed. She came to Manila January, and she said she was doing this and would I be interested in buying some. She showed me the most lavishly printed catalog you can imagine. She's a printer. Beautiful, beautiful catalog. I fell in love with it and I said, sure. I bought $5,000 or $10,000 from her. When the shipment arrived, I had tons of handmade paper in every conceivable texture and color and so on. Result, the next series of Palladius. Why Jaipur? Because Jaipur happens to be one of my favorite cities in Rajasthan. Very colorful city, very Indian and so on. And the colors of some of the papers reminded me of that city. It is called the Pink City, by the way. So it occurred to me, okay, I will call this series Jaipur because it's Indian handmade paper and because I love Jaipur and because the colors remind me of that city.
So there's no pink here, it would seem.
No, it's not, but it has that earthy kind of thing that, as you must know by now, very spontaneous improvisations using Indian handmade paper. I did 70 to 80 of this. You are looking at a part of it, yeah?
What is the quality of the paper? It's like grainy, fibrous.
It's a very soft, fibrous kind of texture that you cannot find in any other kind of paper except handmade paper.
And
In fact, there are Indian papers where the fibers and the elements that are put into the paper are actually visible. And you can literally lift them off like jute.
Oh,
I haven't used any of that.
Yeah.
But there are papers like that.
And you use this paper for what ends?
She buys all of this from India, as they are.
And who buys these things from her?
Museum shops, boutiques, specialty stores. Very little handmade paper is sold. What is sold mostly is when these things are converted into paper bags, containers, boxes, the most gorgeous things you've ever seen, all with handmade paper. The flat sheets are the ones that sell the least. It is of no interest except to
Yeah.
people like me.
Yeah. Compositionally, they would look different from the Hanoi series, would you say?
Yes, yeah, quite different.
Your sense of design is always comes to the fore.
It's all part of me, Sid. It's second nature. It's been pounded into my head, I suppose, and I've done it all my life, so I do it without even thinking, yeah?